Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another discussion video. Today we're going to do something that we usually do upon a set release, which set 14 is releasing this coming weekend, or at least pre-release, and we're going to be talking about 10 cards you should grab from set 14. Now this video is going to be just a little bit different because what I normally try and do in these videos is steer away from SR cards or cards that are looking like they're going to be a little bit more expensive. I try to keep it to, like, more affordable budget cards, but the way set 14 is looking, it kind of seems like all the cards I can recommend to you guys in good faith to pick up are going to be, for the majority, in that SR rarity. So that's how it'll be for this video. If you guys are new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. And if you guys want to help support the channel, there are many ways in the description to do so, as always. But since we are talking about picking up cards, if you guys want to buy or pre-order any of the cards we talk about in today's video, be sure to use my link in the description to TCG Player. It does help out greatly. That being said, we'll get started, and I am going to talk about cheaper cards for you guys to pick up, and as the video goes on, I'll talk about cards that should be more expensive upon set release. But anyways, there are a slew of negates in set 14 that have to do with your opponent controlling tokens. Now, I really just wonder if they printed these cards because they thought Majinbuu was going to be too overpowered. That'd be kind of funny if they did, because it's nowhere near overpowered. But anyways, yeah, all these counterattacks have to do with your opponent having tokens, like the blue one, for instance, that we have on the screen, has to do with your opponent having a token, and you can untap an energy when you use it. But the permanent is a really important thing here. This card's skills can't be negated in any area. Every single color, I believe, except for black, has one of these negates, but black already has one of these from a draft box. I believe it's called Burning Slash. But yeah, these are good pickups because there might be some times where, counters might become more prevalent in the meta. They might print more counters in the future, and having a negate that you can count on to not get counter that will always negate a specific attack you really need to stop is just a really good thing to have in your back pocket. So definitely go pick up a playset of all these. They're in the common slot, a playset's going to run you maybe like 50 cents if it's on the higher end, right? So definitely something worth picking up for sure. Next up, we have Piccolo the Gate Opener, and this represents a slew of cards that prevent your opponent from dealing burn damage to you. For some reason, in set 13, we just got one of these in the blue color pool, which was a Vegeta, but in set 14, we're getting one, I believe, in the rest of the colors, again, except for black. I don't know why black always seems to miss out on these types of cards, at least from my memory. But yeah, these cards, super good. Once again, in the common slot. It's a card you just want to have, and it's not as burningly important with Invokers seeing the hits it's seeing on the ban list, with Catastrophic Blow being changed to limit 1. It's not as important. You're not going to absolutely need it, but again, at the common slot, a playset's going to run you maybe 50 cents, so it's going to be really good to just have a playset of these cards in whatever colors you happen to play. If you're a yellow player, pick up the Piccolos. If you're a blue player, pick up the Vegetas. They should be cards that you just have in your back pocket, in a box sitting somewhere, and if a format ever arises where you need it, well, you got it. So good thing to have. Next up, we have another slew of cards for all the colors. Majinbuu, Thwarting the Enemy. This is a 1-drop counter attack with limit 1. If your leader card is whatever color the same card as this is, negate the attack, then play this card in rest mode. If you negated a leader card's attack with a skill, your opponent can't attack with their leader card for the turn. And then permanent, you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand without paying its energy cost by paying the cost for Spirit Boost 2 instead. So what's funny about this card is that they probably created this card to be more of an answer for Reboot Gohan, which, as we know, is banned going into set 14. But this still answers a few things like Blue Zamasu from set 10, like Makika Bora if you're playing against that deck a lot. So it is a card that has its usage, and it can be good again in future formats. At the rare slot, might be a bit more expensive than some of the cards we just talked about, but a playset will probably run you $1 or $2 if I'm being honest. So again, it's just gonna be a really good card to pick up for whatever color you are playing in a given format. Then we have Tapeon the Hero Revive. So the reason I'm recommending this card, even though it is a super rare, is I anticipate it's going to be cheaper than Baby the Unknown Parasite, which is the most comparable unison to this card. They're both 3-cost unisons that have a +2 that allow you to draw. Tapeon obviously works a bit better with Spirit Boost, gaining an effect when you use Spirit Boost, but Baby still has that really strong ultimate ability of -5, giving your leader double strike and 15k, and allowing you to use counters from your hand by just pitching 2 cards instead of paying the energy cost, right? So I do think Tapeon will be cheaper. One, because I personally think it's a bit worse of a card. Not totally worse of a card. Like, if it came down to Baby being $15 and this card being $5 and you wanted to run Tapeon, I don't think your deck would be super significantly worse as a result of playing something a bit more budget. But yeah, this card also has an SPR variant, which for some reason cards that have SPR variants, like their SR variants, just tend to be relatively cheap. I'm assuming that has to do with the pull rates and SPRs taking up a certain number of slots. But without getting into that, yeah, I think this card's gonna be a pretty solid budget pickup. Again, I do think it'll eventually settle around $5-ish as time goes on. When the set releases though, this is probably gonna be one of the more expensive cards, so if you do want to hold off on it, I think that would actually be a pretty good idea if you don't need it for like the same weekend or the actual release weekend the following weekend. So I think it'll be a pretty good pickup for sure. Then we have Tapeon Calamity Challenger. What's really cool about this set is there are just a lot of good Tapeon cards, which Tapion's a cool character, so I'm cool with that. But anyways, 4-drop 20k double strike. Auto this card's play, draw 1. Notice I'm skipping over the EX Evolve, because that's probably just never going to be relevant. Activate main, limit 1, Spirit Boost 1 for a blue energy. If you have a blue Unison card of 15,000 power or more and 3 or more energy, play this card from your hand. So we've talked about it a few times. This card is super comparable to Piccolo New Ruler. It's just a very similar type of card for blue, but it actually sticks around and draws you a card. Only caveat being it costs you 1 blue energy to play and you have to have a Unison in play. But blue is very, very dependent on Unisons, not only because Spirit Boost being introduced in set 14, but Gunsling Technique Trunks is just such a pivotal card for blue decks, and the baby Unison, like we talked about, is such a good Unison in blue. This card is going to be a staple until it either gets power crept or banned or something, because I'll never see a blue deck not play this card as long as they play the appropriate Unison that can get this card online. If your deck plays Zeno Unison, you're kind of out of luck, you can't play this card, but it's just a super strong card in every other situation. Then we have Son Goku Calamity Challenger. So 4-drop, 15k, activate main, deflect blocker firstly. Activate main, pay a blue. If your leader's a blue sand card and you have 3 or more energy, play this card from your hand and draw 1. That's going to be absolutely insane, particularly in Soul Striker, which is just going to be the best blue sand leader going into set 14. The activate main with all the Spirit Boost stuff is cool, but it requires you to have a Trunks leader, and we did a whole video earlier this week talking about the Trunks support. I just don't think it's all that great. So this effect is, honestly, you can consider it not even there if you're not going to be playing a Trunks leader. But the fact you can play this for 1, it draws a card, and it has synergy with Son Goku Path to Infinite, which again, we talked about those particular combos in the Trunks video earlier this week if you want to see what they're all about. Putting that card back to your hand to then play again later. And what's funny too is, like, did they think about Son Goku Path to Infinite? Because they've put limit 1 on so many things that probably don't even need limit 1, but like, you play this guy on a turn 3 and then you bring him back to hand with Son Goku Path to Infinite, and you can play this guy again as long as you have another blue energy, and Soul Striker untaps blue energy, so that's kind of a no-brainer type of play, and that doesn't have limit 1. So it's kind of a funny interaction. But yeah, this card, super good stable for blue, especially if you're planning on playing Soul Striker going forward. Then we have SS4 Bardock Spirit Resonance, 2-drop Unison, +1, activate main, draw 1, -2, activate main until the end of your opponent's next turn. They can't attack with battle cards unless they choose a card in their hand and send to the warp each time. And then there's an auto once per turn, remove a marker from this card using a Spirit Boost skill. Send up to 1 battle card from your opponent's drop to their warp. So with all that in mind, this doesn't really go with any particular archetype. This is just a really, really strong generic black Unison that any black deck really can play as long as you're not, as long as you're charging black energy, I should say. So yeah, this card, absolutely incredible. I think just from reading it, you guys get the idea. It's very similar to Piccolo Jr. Descendant of the King. Just going to be one of the most excellent black Unisons, if not the best black Unison, at least in a generic sense. Then we have Son Goku Return of the Dragon Fist. Yellow finally gets like a really legit boss monster that any yellow deck can play. This is pretty cool. So 8-drop 25k, deflect, double strike. He has deflect, and being an 8-drop protects him from freeze a charismatic villain, so he's really, really safe to play down. Auto when this card's played, choose up 2 of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and KO them. Activate main for 3 yellows. If you have 4 or more energy and a yellow Unison in play, play this card from your hand. Activate main once per turn, Spirit Boost 2. If your leader card's mono yellow, this card gains dual attack for the turn, and your opponent can't activate skills on battle cards with original energy cost of 7 or less from any area when this card is in a battle. So just yesterday I was talking about this card and the SS4 Goku archetype, and I was talking about all the different ways this card is powerful in the battle step. The card's absolutely insane. Any yellow deck can play it as a boss monster as long as you play Unisons. Very, very solid pickup indeed. And I don't really expect this one to be too expensive either, because you only really need 2 to 3 copies. Like, you can very, very much get away with just owning 2 copies of this card and playing it as a boss monster in just about any yellow deck that plays Unison. So I like this card a lot for that reason. Then we have some green cards coming up. Majinbuu Unadulterated Malice, 2-drop, counter attack. If your leader is green, negate the attack, then play this card. If you played a card, choose a card in your hand, discard it. Then your opponent can't attack for the turn unless they choose 2 cards in their hand and discard them each time. So we're not even going to read the Unit Absorb effect, and that's because we're talking about this card in its most generic sense, and that's going to be for the counter attack skill. If you're happening to play Majinbuu, great, the Unit Absorb effect is going to be awesome for you, but the counter attack just gives green a very topo-like card. This card is absolutely incredible. You're going to want to have it if you're playing green, or you think you might be playing green, depending on if your favorite character comes out in that color or what have you. Then we have Son Goku Spirit Bomb Unleashed, 3-drop 15k, activate main, limit 1 for a green energy. If you have 3 or more energy and a green unison card in play this card from your hand. If you do, choose one of your opponent's unison cards and remove a marker from it. Activate main once per turn, Spirit Boost X, green unison card. This card gets plus 5,000 power for the turn for each marker you remove from your unison card with a skill. If you remove 2 or more markers, this card gains double strike for the turn. So just like Tapeon and Piccolo New Ruler, another New Ruler-esque card that's coming out for green. This card's absolutely incredible, helping deal with unisons, helping go for a game. You could even just take a marker off a unison and then swing at a unison for double strike if you've been able to spirit boost enough markers off of a unison. So yeah, this card, absolutely incredible, a green pickup you'll want to have. And this is going to be the last card we're talking about today, so hopefully you guys have kind of seen what I was talking about, where a lot of the cards you should pick up in the most generic sense are in the SR slot. But yeah, guys, of course, I want in the comments below what you think. Are you going to pick up any of these cards? Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.